We also have a lot of documents back on the table. If you want to pick up a copy of resolution and agendas, committees, all of that information on the back page.
Yeah, right. Like, just like. Sorry, and I didn't do the proper line order. Resolution. Yep.
Elvis.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's. That's the best.
You're on and being recorded. Start. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First, want to just start off before we go into the pledge of allegiance. I just want to say that we did have an executive session for a personnel matter, and then we will talk about item 3 on the agenda. But I want to move into the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Ms. Daggett, are you available to do a roll call?
She has to be unmuted, Adrian.
Working on it. I'm not seeing. Is there a different name? First name? Oh, there it is.
Doggett.
Got it. I've asked her to unmute.
She is
Okay.
unmuted. Kate, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can't hear you, so maybe your sound is off, or the sound in here is off.
No, can you hear me now?
I
You're
can hear
very
it.
low.
What's that?
Is from his computer? Yes. Adrian, the sound in here is not on.
Mm. Okay, try again, please.
Can you hear me now? I can't hear anything.
Stand by, Kate.
Okay, I can hear that. I just heard you.
Okay, try again.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Again.
Okay, can you hear me?
No. Can't hear it.
So,
Adrian, if you can unmute me, I'll turn my computer sound on until you fix that, so we can carry on.
okay.
You're talking about. Yeah, don't whisper well.
Yeah, you're right, I don't.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm gonna put. Adrian, you just turn your sound off.
Mm.
Go ahead, Kate. Your
Okay.
speaker.
What would be, I do not need to see my face that big, ever.
Can I do that? Yeah, so I'm just gonna call audible because we're not doing well with that, so I'll just do the roll call. All right.
Okay, we ready?
Want me to do it? Go ahead. I'm gonna pretend I'm the secretary today, and I'm gonna call roll. Ms. Martzloff. Here. Ms. Connors. Here. Ms. Young. Here. Mr. Curry.
Here.
Ms. Pointer.
Here.
Mr. Griffin.
Here.
Mr. Hover.
Present.
Everyone is present. Mayor is present. Along with our solicitor, Bob Scott, and Chief Rutherford.
Thank you. So moving on to the next item on the agenda, the executive session. We had an executive session yesterday. We also had one
Just keep going.
before the meeting today regarding, I just need that.
Turn off your speaker.
There you go. So we had an executive session regarding the borough manager and whether to renew his contract. We just finished up the session before you guys came in. I don't know if any other council members have any comments regarding the executive session.
You should talk about what you want to bring forward, and then you can ask for discussion.
Okay, so what we are want to move forward with in a motion is to not renew Greg Tataro's contract moving forward. And that's the motion that we want to put forth to not renew his contract. Any discussion on that item? Yes.
I just want to voice my my opposition to that. When I've worked with Craig, he's always been very professional. And I think he's been an asset to the borough, and I've never had personally had any problems with him, and I know others have. But I just want to share that I have not had that.
Okay. Anyone else?
Are we discussing it down under when it becomes a motion?
A motion, yeah, but it's one of the items, so everybody wants to just add a point.
Yeah, I would also voice my opposition to it. I don't think majority of residents in Lansdowne had any idea that any of this was coming at the end of December. I think even now, the majority of residents in Lansdowne are going to be completely surprised with what is occurring at this council. I did voice last Friday trying to find out for myself. I had no idea as a council member, as an elected official of Lansdowne Borough, that this was happening until yesterday of today. And I'm deeply concerned about the lack of transparency of this council and doing the business of the borough. I am very troubled that we're having such a radical shift at the time that we're in the midst of several major projects. I think that we are completing many plans that were put into place. Many of those plans came into fruition under Mr. Tataro's managership with previous councils and mayors. And as previous councils and mayors shifted, one of the constancies that we've had in our borough is the stability of the staff who will make the community work from year to year. And I think this has a chilling effect throughout our staff. I think it's the wrong decision for our community at this time. And I think it's going to set us back in terms of the work that we need to do as a community.
Thank you. Any other? Anything else? Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to the next item. Next,
Mr. President.
Yeah.
I would like to make the motion.
That's
We're
later.
gonna do it at the end.
so you can,
They're gonna do all the emotions at the end.
Okay.
We also gonna mention the income master.
Oh, yes, and also, we had conversation about assigning an interim borough manager, Ellen Lustengarden, Les Garden, I'm sorry. Added a couple syllables in there. For the interim borough manager, to serve in the position until a permanent person is found for the position. And so that also will be voted on as well.
May I comment on it?
Yes.
I'd like to say that I think Ellen is uniquely positioned to be an interim borough manager. She has a great deal of experience, both on borough council, as the finance director treasurer, as part of the Economic Development Corporation, as the chair of the Lansdowne Council Police Pension Committee, as well as on the Council Finance and Administration Committee. So I think she's uniquely positioned to step in and give us the necessary time to do a thorough and diverse search for a replacement.
Thank you. Any other?
Again, I'm going to echo the sentiments that I had on first. I do not think that the process and decision-making of this council is benefits from only receiving the resume, I would say half an hour before making this decision. That I don't think that this is the way we should be making major decisions for the community. I think that we should have more lengthy process and discussion. I'm going to echo also the sentiments that I had last night. These motions are not on this agenda. They're not listed. There's no way that any community member could know that this was happening tonight unless they actually showed up at the meeting tonight. And I think that we would do well to take a look. And I know I had a lengthy conversation with our solicitor. We're of different minds of this. I do find this to be a violation of Sunshine Act to put these two motions onto the agenda and to read into the record from the Commonwealth Court case. It says that it is advisable to use the same standard for agendas whereby the description of the agenda item must be of sufficient specificity to inform is in reality a specific discrete matter or area which the board has determined should be discussed, deliberated, and or decided by official action. In sum, avoid cryptic terms and provide as many specific concrete details as possible. If we had put something on the agenda such as motion to appoint borough manager, I would have been comfortable with that as satisfying the Sunshine Act. We don't have that on this agenda. In fact, I think that as a board, as a council, to satisfy Sunshine Act, we should not have these decisions tonight, that we should have a special meeting. That way we can do the due diligence and to advertise the appropriate agenda as necessary. I would also state, if I could. That under the recent court case that just came out with Coleman versus Parkland School District, the Sunshine Act offers 3 exceptions to the general prohibition that allow agency action on matters not previously listed in the meeting agenda. 1, emergency business. 2, de minimis business, not involving fund expenditure or entering into a contract that arises within the 24 hours preceding the meeting. Or 3, de minimis business raised by a resident taxpayer during the meeting that does not involve fund expenditure or entering into a contract. And I believe that these items both. Neither one of them meet that exceptional standard.
So I know yesterday when we had a conversation about the executive session, you mentioned that you don't want to take, the advice of other council members. You wanted to get the advice of the solicitor. We did that. And everything that we have on the agenda was approved by the solicitor. So I'm going to take your advice as well and say that we're going to listen to the solicitor advice in terms of how we manage the agenda. So I'm just going to take the same advice that you provided yesterday. I understand you have a point of view, and I hope everyone does express their point of view. But I know that the conversation that we had yesterday, you mentioned that you wanted to make sure that we listen to the solicitor, and we did, and that's why we have the agenda items that we do have. Any other you want to comment?
I was just going to ask if there had been a conversation with the solicitor. You said you had one. I have confidence that that happened and that we can move forward.
Any other comments? Okay. So we can move on to the discussion of the council committee assignments, liaisons, and meeting dates. Many of you should have a copy of the Borough of Lansdowne Council Committee appointments. And it just pretty much has each person and their committee, who's the chair, and also the 2 council members that are a part of that committee as well. Only thing that needed to be added was we need to add the meeting dates to make sure that, and I also provided, make sure that community got a copy of it, because I want to make sure you're able to put the dates on there as well. So that way you can keep that document for your record. You can have it to know when each one of our committee meetings will be meeting throughout the year. I think it's important to get community involvement. I want to echo what Councilperson Hoover was saying. I concur with him that, and that's something that we've been working with when I was a DEI committee chair, is one of the things that we wanted to get inclusion, and we will continue to do that in the borough moving forward. We want to make sure that we get community input, community insight. That's something that I was pushing when I wasn't a president on council. That wasn't happening. So we want to make sure that we continue to do that moving forward. And so that's why we provided the committee meetings, who's the chairs, who's also a part of those committees as well. Just wanted to turn it over to the other council members. You have any questions, about this? Also want to add your meeting dates on too as well. So that way we can, the community can know when those dates are as well.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may, when I was appointed in November, I was also a part of the Health and Public Safety Committee. I would opt to join that committee again. Reason being, I live in the 9th precinct. Me and the chief, we communicated in the past from the time that I was a resident till now. When it came to, and also I would like to throw Suzanne McElroy in the mix as well from our last council meeting. She expressed the high arrest of juveniles in Lansdowne. The work that I personally have been doing when it came to community outreach with juveniles, whether it's job placement, working with the Delaware County Juvenile Courts, and also trying to build on what Suzanne, our resident of Lansdowne, stated. trying to get programs in place in Lansdowne for the juvenile, so there can maybe possibly be a drop in juvenile arrest. So I would like to just opt to join Health and Public Safety. I think that I can be a huge asset to public safety in Lansdowne.
Okay.
And like I said, just past events, whether there were there have been shootings in my in our neighborhood that I personally addressed. I brought the community together to address it. I've been thinking of possibly doing street cleanings to engage more of the community members. I've started to know, it's only been for 5 years, but I noticed that neighbors don't come outside anymore. We don't know each other's names. We don't know our kids' names. We don't, it's a neighborhood, but it's not a community. And the work that I've been doing along with our previous chair, Vice President Sino Nachi Taylor, the chief, the mayor, I think that I'll be a huge asset on public safety.
Yes.
I'd like to offer for the council and Mr. Griffin's consideration, if you feel very strongly about that, Will, if you would like to be on health and public safety, I could take your spot on infrastructure codes and public works and we can trade.
So and now with that, I would have to kind of say that's my career, it's my bread and butter. I'm in the building trades. That was another thing. Joining council, that was something. This new council, this was something I was truly interested in.
Yeah.
And I know I can't get everything.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, man. It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
That's why I'm glad that I can share my
definitely,
my experience. But infrastructure moving forward, like I said, the reason why I would love to be on infrastructure and continue, when I seen it, I got excited. Like I said, just my expertise and my experience in the building trades, and hopefully utilizing my career to benefit the community. That is one thing. So I would have to.
May I ask which council or which committee you would prefer to trade?
I've had my experience on environment, park and rec. I can personally say, I think I expressed it amongst council. My experiences could have been better. And I do not want to continue on with environment, park and rec. I don't think that I will be an asset with environment, park and rec. And I'll state that for the record. So I'll be honest and say that if I could give up something, it would be environment, park and rec to join public safety to help the young people, but also utilize my skill set on infrastructure.
I just have a comment.
Yes.
With you being chair of community development and recreation.
Yes.
That's like, a lot of that focus is working with young adults or even younger. A lot of the things that you mentioned, you can do within that committee.
Yes, but again, I'll be honest, representation matters. Where I live at in Lansdowne, I don't want to say it's the tale of two Lansdowns, but it's the tale of two Lansdowne.
What do you mean by representation?
Meaning that young Black men in my community want to see me. I want to see them. I want to engage them. When I get the blotter, I see what's on the blotter. It affects me personally, especially when there's young men in my neighborhood who are a part of that blotter. And I would like to continue to be in the room when those discussions are happening, when it comes to opinions, when it comes to solutions, engagement, even when it came to the talks of a staff member at the high school. That was something that was highly encouraged on my end because I understood what that meant for the schools. Even though that got not railroad, but it was dismissed because things happened, it didn't happen, but that was something that I felt would help our community, and I advocated for that in public safety.
So if I may interject? And I only say this because I know how difficult it is to sometimes organize committees.
Yeah.
Any one of us can go to any committee meeting, so you can always contribute to that conversation, even if you're not an official committee member.
Can you vote?
Your representation is in this room, and what is recommended by that committee comes here, and you vote on it. So I know it's not the setup that you'd like, but I don't want you to view that as you can no longer participate. You can, it would just be in a different capacity.
So I would like to drop environment, park and rec if I possibly could and join health and public safety.
Yeah, and that probably would definitely require someone to
I understand.
step down from that committee to be able to make that happen, but I also concur with Mayor Byrne that you definitely can still attend the meetings. And when council members are having conversations, you can definitely be a part of what's going to be submitted to the council as a whole as well, because you're a part of it, because you're a council member there. When I was in DEI, we had, individuals show up, and I always included them into the decision that we were making. So your name may not be on it, but you can definitely attend. And if anyone is willing to, who's on there now, willing to swap or, figure things out, definitely. I'm open to it if individuals are willing to do that, but we try to align it with people's like first and second interests. And it's kind of hard to get all three. And so, and that's what we came up with this right here.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
President,
Yeah.
are you hoping to nail this down tonight?
Yes, because that's the plan, because we have to have
We
our
have to
meeting.
get moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will volunteer to step to trade environment and parks with health and public safety for Mr. Griffin, since he feels very strongly about that.
Okay, so you'll go to environmental.
Then who are you taking out of environmental parks and rec?
Take it.
Yeah, got it. I'm together now.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome.
You might
I had a
always
bit
come for
more of
that
a
one.
learning curve,
Oh,
but
I
I hope you
understand.
don't mind if I hit you up.
No, you hit me up.
Well, I'd like to, can I switch my first preference to come out of public safety? And switch with someone?
Come out of public safety. You're the chair of public safety.
Yeah, can I switch?
Okay, what do you want to switch to?
Anything that's.
I thought you wanted.
Yeah, all of the chairs have been assigned, so you do have to switch with another council member. If you want to get out of health and public safety.
Can I switch with you with community development and you just take care of the health and public safety? Can I do that?
Is that okay?
No. I have a lot of movement in community relations. I mean, I'll go into detail too. I've expressed it amongst council. I have a 2024 calendar that we're working on. Like I said, last year, we've, Mayor, I, and the UAA, we were the.
UAA is.
Yeah, sorry. So we were.
Can't keep saying we work.
Sorry. So this year, as long as last year, we have to find funding for the 4th of July parade. So that's something that we're also working on. Hopefully, me, Mayor, and others can build on that, because I know, Mayor, that's your baby.
That is my baby.
That's your baby. So there's a lot of things that I've done in community relations for the past year that I've transitioned into this year that are already in motion.
So if we could get the meeting dates, so that way the community actually as well. So the finance and technology administration, when are you gonna meet?
I'd like to continue that on the second Mondays, but move it from 5 to 6 p.m. to be more accommodating.
You said 6 p.m.?
Tuesday,
I thought you said Monday.
no, Tuesday.
I'm sorry,
Second-
Tuesday.
second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday
Second Tuesday
at
at
6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
Yes,
6 p.m.
5 is a little difficult for those of us with 9 to 5 jobs.
All right, how about health and public safety?
Second Wednesday?
Second Wednesday,
Thank you.
6 p.m.?
7.
Oh, 7? Okay. Infrastructure,
That's the second Monday at 7 p.m.
second Monday. You said what time?
7.
7 p.m. All right, community,
First Tuesday,
first Tuesday.
6:30.
Economic development,
Second Wednesday at 6.
second Wednesday.
6 P.M. All right, and last but not least, environment and parks,
Second Monday at 6 p.m.
second Monday. 6 P.M. Thank you.
Before you move forward, could you
I was
please
actually about
repeat
to make-
infrastructure?
Oh, infrastructure. Infrastructure is second Monday, 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Also wanted to just state that all of our meetings you can find on the website. You can go to the calendar, and it should on that date it will have the committee meeting. You can click on it and you can join by Zoom as well if you can't make it in person. And all of these meetings are hybrid, correct?
That's the chair's choice. It
Yeah.
has been the chair's choice,
So-
hybrid or hybrid.
So we need to make sure we express that as well. So finance, is that going to be a hybrid only in person or finance?
Hybrid,
Hybrid?
as seeing as how it's also technology, I think that's only right.
Okay. How about health and public safety?
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Infrastructure.
I'd like it to be hybrid. I will need a tutorial on just to make sure that how we're gonna click onto our Zoom and get onto it to make sure that can happen.
Okay.
That would be the plan.
All right. Community development and recreation.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Economic development.
I would like it to be a hybrid. I've had a staff member in the past who did hybrid. I don't know how to use the Zoom or.
Just like me.
Okay.
I know. We're gonna have to figure that out.
How about environment and parks?
Hybrid.
Hybrid. All right. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Concerns? All right. Okay, so we're gonna move on to council committee agenda updates and priorities. Yesterday, we approved a resolution, 2024-02. And it talked about, under 5, it talks about that committee meetings will be open to the public in person and through electronic access. We talked about that. Committee meetings may be guided by Robert Rules of Order. It may, now that's key, it may, it's not a requirement. Committees shall post their agendas on the borough website at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. And the committee meetings will generally maintain a standing agenda covering old business, new business, vacancies on boards and commissions, and public comment prior to action or recommendations. All right, now committee chairs should publicly report to the council on their committee meetings and shall post such reports to the borough no later than 24 hours prior to the next borough council meeting at which the report will be delivered. Do we have any questions about those items in terms of the agenda?
So just for clarity, I do have one question. Clarity, so we give a report at the second council meeting each month, the third Wednesday meeting is when we would be giving our report as we are currently. That doesn't change.
I thought it was changing to the first. If I'm not correct on that, it was changing to the first.
That's what I just want to.
Yeah, so it was changing to the first that we will report out.
Okay,
And
so
then-
after the first, then you wouldn't have, so it could be a 3-week delay, which may be fine. Because once you get into a rhythm of things, sometimes it just always equalizes. I'm only asking because my meetings are the second Monday, so I have the luxury of giving a report within a week.
Third and second meeting.
Yeah.
So essentially, most likely, if you have a meeting in January, you'll probably be reporting in February, the beginning of February.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll also give you opportunity to plan for the meeting as well, especially if you're coming out of committee. Just my thought.
Yeah.
If you're coming out of the committee and you need to sort of present something to the council as a whole, it does give you an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
But I don't know, how does everybody else feel about that?
I'm interested, I'm wondering, I wanna see how this works, and
Yes.
how it feels, and I
Yeah.
think that we have to, so there might be an option to change once we're using it.
Yeah,
So, thank
absolutely.
you. Okay,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's valid to give it a shot and
Okay.
see how it works and just, be open to possibly reorganizing if we need to at some point down the road.
Okay.
I think in the past, we've had some kind of rapid government that didn't allow for a lot of time for information to go out to the public and to be received from the public. So I think slowing this down a little bit is not necessarily a bad idea.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
and to follow up, the question I have is in terms of time lags, because the opposite has been true as well, where criticism from the community and from different boards and commissions is the time lag that has taken on council for different operations to take place. So, for example, if you have a particular liaison committee that you're working with, or a board or commission that you're working with, you have your committee meeting, they meet after council meeting occurs, then you get the information the following committee meeting the following month from the liaison board. Then we have this discussion about when we're discussing items at council. It could be that we have 4 month, 5 month delays. In the past, that has been an issue, specifically in economic development. When our was in economic development, is that we had businesses that were looking to have signs approved that could be 5, 6, 7, 8 months, which really impeded the business's ability to do their planning. And so my question is with this, if the intent behind the organizing resolutions is to spend the first council meeting discussing, second council meeting voting on particular issues. That I see a particular conflict that occurs with time sensitive information that might come up with businesses. For example, we have the NV5 Parkway that should probably go out to bid next council meeting. I believe that due date is, if we want to have that particular project done by the time the figure is done, that we need to have it out to bid relatively soon. And I don't know if we're going to be able to do that unless that's going to be on the agenda at the next council.
So you mentioned the NV5, is that, was that something that was decided by council that it needed to be done when the theater was done?
That was something that we discussed last council, correct? That we
I don't recall having a conversation.
we did have a conversation.
No, I'm saying
Go back
about,
to the minutes and
no,
take a look at the conversation.
I'm saying whether we all agreed that was something that we needed to do, like it needed to be done at the same time. I know we did have a conversation about it. But I don't know if we all like sort of agreed that was something that needed to be done. Also, I want to mention about, you mentioned the reason why we're doing it the way that we're doing it is to provide transparency to the community. So if we're talking about something on first Wednesday, we're giving the community, we're not just, we're not just dropping it on the community on the third Wednesday and say, we're just gonna vote on it. We're giving the community opportunity on the first and Wednesday to review, to have discussion, and then we vote on it on the third Wednesday. I think that is providing transparency and also including the community in all of our decision making. And also in terms of the boards and commissions, I would strongly suggest speaking with the boards and commissions that are aligned with your committee and aligning your meetings together, because you do have the right to do that. And so instead of having all the different meetings all over the place, I would talk to the board and commissioners that work with you to make sure that they're aligned with your committee meetings, so it could be more efficient, a more efficient process. Yes.
May I ask, this is obviously our general rule of thumb to discuss at the first Wednesday meeting and vote at the second, but certainly if there was something that was very time sensitive, we could bring it up.
And that's correct, right?
As long as it was on the agenda.
Yeah, as long as it's on the agenda, the meeting's been advertised.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Now, it also talks about priorities. Do you guys have any individual priorities for your committees that you would like to, express to the community? for your individual committee, something that you want to focus on? Not everyone has to speak, but it's something that you want to focus on or something that you're looking to provide to the community?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
Ron.
happy to go first.
Yeah.
It's finance, admin, and tech, which we've added tech to the finance committee. I have several items that I'll be putting on the agenda for next week, but my focus basically is to address our website, which I think is a bit onerous and difficult to use. I know that Dandelion also supports medias for a website on the same wireframe, and theirs is very intuitive. So I don't see why we can't, make some changes there to make it more easy to use. And that would be my first. And second is to address sound issues in the room, both microphones and speakers, so everyone can hear on Zoom and in the room. Those are just a few of the things that I would like to start with in tech.
Okay, thank you. Anyone? Yes, Carol.
One of the things that we want to promote early on is the Great Backyard Bird Count, which actually occurs in February. So hopefully you'll see some social media about what exactly that means. And also we want to have a lot of public forums on a proposed single-use plastic bag ordinance. So you'll be hearing more about that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
At economic development next week, we're gonna be talking about NV5 Parkway, the design. It's essential for the businesses in our downtown that we do get moving on that. We also have close to $1 million in grant money from the state to help pay for that. It's a commitment on the part of Senator Tim Carney and Representative Gina Curry, as well as the county, to make this particular project happen in our downtown. And I would encourage this council and talk to the community as well, that this is one of those major projects that we don't want to disrupt the theater operations, that we should have it done prior to when the theater opens. It's something that we should work on to have that happen. Other items, we do need to button up the contracts with Lansdowne Economic Development Corporation, with the Lansdowne Arts Council, with the Lansdowne Economic Development Corporation, that initiative that we began last year, and also work with mandated requirements from the state, from the Department of Community Economic Development, Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, in terms of Section 5 obligations for public accommodations and all of the businesses in the downtown.
Thank you. Yes.
Community relations, just trying to become more proactive, bridging the gap between organizations in Lansdowne to the borough, also getting more resources to the community, and also hearing from the community to find those resources to bring them to the community. So it's opening up an open line of communication.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and infrastructure codes now, and public works, we're gonna try to continue what we're doing with making sure we're offering the good services, trash, recycling, yard waste, filling the potholes. And the addition of codes into my committee, I really want to look at the property maintenance ordinances and how we are addressing those issues within the community. House prices have had exponential rises. We want to make sure that we don't compromise any of that advancement and that we keep the town looking as good as it can without becoming too onerous though. So there has to be a good balance. And I think that working with Harb and with zoning, as I have been for the past couple of years, that it's a good fit and I look forward to it.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
in health and public safety, we are going to continue our work on accreditation. And then hopefully we will be able to fully staff the police department. And we're going to start the conversation on our block captain program and what that would mean to Lansdowne.
Thank you. All right, do we have anything else? Anyone wants that? All right, so we can move on to the next item, discussion of board and commission vacancies and ad hoc committee on nominations. I know we had a little bit of conversation about this yesterday and just wanted to open it up again. I know that it was some conversations about, we do have vacancies and I know, today a list was sent out from who applied on the website, but the list, was recycled. It was the same list. And so I think, I definitely want to have a conversation about, the boards and commission vacancies and how we plan to solicit and get community members to be more actively involved in Lansdowne. And I just wanted to open up to, everyone to get your input and your thoughts on that.
All right, I did review that list and it was pretty much the same one that had been distributed several months ago. There was a couple applicants in December and maybe one in October. One person's name appeared 3 times. There are 2 people on that list that do not live in the borough. Their addresses are not Lansdowne. So that list itself has to be vetted somewhat, and it's only gonna shrink. And it's like I continue to say over and over ad nauseum, we have 4,700 households. We have according to the analytics we get from Dandelion, our electronic newsletter goes out to roughly 1,700 email lists. We have no idea if email addresses, we have no idea if those are individual households or not. There could be more than one person getting the electronic newsletter. We have a 42 to 45% open rate, which is fabulous. But that reduces the actual open rate to about 700 to 800 households are receiving this information. So we do need to do something really aggressively to try to get information out. And that's why when Mr. Hoover did ask us to change the resolution to include using any means available to us to communicate, if it's paper flyers, which I know is environmentally not the best, but making sure that we have hard copies of our newsletter in some places for people to see that they might then sign up for the electronic copy, just to constantly be promoting those openings that we have in all of our meetings so that we can just get people thinking about it. Maybe I need to sit at the farmer's market one day with sign-up sheets and really explain what's going on and where we need help. But I know that this council is committed to making that happen.
Absolutely.
And I will do whatever I need to do to help support that.
May I ask, is it part of the welcome packet?
Welcome, Pat.
The welcome packet is with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
The welcome packet is with me, and that's what I was going to actually mention to Will. Since you are community relations, I'm definitely going to hand off the welcome packet to you, but I also want to hand off, way for you to like really look into ways that we can effectively communicate with our community, and how we can work with the community and bring more engagement in as well. And so that should be one of your goals too this year. Because, we have these meetings all the time and we hear, I didn't know about this meeting, I didn't know this was happening. We need to really work together to try to figure out ways to effectively communicate with everyone so they know what's going on. And some may agree, some may disagree, but at least they know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So if you can really definitely look into that and try to work on that, I really appreciate it.
Yep, and I would just add, I would say I would probably get a mock or get the old welcome packets that we had.
I have one, I got you.
Like I meant it, it's with him,
Good.
actually with him.
So, we can exchange it after, and then I can look over it and maybe, talk amongst the community and also council to see how we can improve it and how we can get it out to new residents and possibly farmers markets, things like that. However, any means,
Right.
any means. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? And so also there will be an ad hoc committee on nominations, and it will be council members. I hope to have some members of the community on there as well. Because ultimately every decision that we're going to make, we're doing it for the community, and we want to make sure that people feel welcome and supported when they're involved in borough business. I mean, you look, people are taking their time, like we're all up here volunteering. We're volunteering our time to support Lansdowne. And we want to make sure that we are opening our arms to individuals to come in to be a part of it as well. All right. Any other comment? Anyone? All right, so we don't have any old business. We want to move into the new business. Which is resolution 2024-05 regarding bank signatures. It's the same document, that, same document as before. Only thing was updated was the council president, vice president, and also, put Ms. Connors on there as well. I had an S to your name too as well. Just realized that.
So I fixed one, but.
Yeah, and
that's
so,
the old.
any questions about that?
Pretty straightforward.
All right, and so that will be it will be a motion item. Can I have someone that'll bring that up for motion? Yes.
So this is the same exact one, Ms. Don, our treasurer, wasn't ever involved at all.
So this was a resolution that was just updated. So I think it was done the last time it was done in 2020, I believe. And so we just updated the 2024-05 and just put the updated council members on there.
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you.
What's the motion?
Motion to approve resolution 2024-05.
Oh, I have everything down right. Okay,
You got
never
it?
mind. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, I have it down.
All right, thank you. So moving on to resolution regarding the Holocaust Remembrance Day, Ms. Over.
Yes, coming up this January 27th is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. This is a day that was designated in 2005 by United Nations to recognize the liberation of Auschwitz and to urge comprehensive education about the Holocaust and face of Holocaust denial and rising anti-Semitism in the future. Part of what happened this past summer and in May of 2023 is President Biden's administration, Biden-Harris administration, put together a strategy to counter anti-Semitism. There were rising incidents of anti-Semitism up to that point. And then also currently also anti-Semitism is rising in our local and regional and state communities. And one of the things that they advocate in that is to quote, call on state and local governments to strengthen education on hate-fueled violence and the impact of discrimination, including through teaching about Jewish history, anti-Semitism, and the Holocaust. Furthermore, the administration calls on state and local governments to consider using materials published by Jewish organizations to help identify anti-Semitic tropes, words, and symbols that often hide in plain sight, as well as to learn about how biases can lead to acts of hate, discrimination, and violence. Fitting in with our initiatives in diversity, equity, and inclusion that we have done different work through the past 4 years and trying to highlight different days, different events, different issues within our community. And I think that this is fitting. I did a little bit of research and I didn't know this until doing some research about Lansdowne that we had an incident in 1995 that predates me, in which there was an actual Nazi war criminal, Jonas Stamakis, who was living within the community, who once discovered had his citizenship revoked and became an issue. I don't know for those people who live in the community then if they remember when that happened. Evidently he lived on Marshall Road and Lansdowne Avenue corner. And then also another pretty famous event, in the Nuremberg trials, there was a lawyer who fled out of Germany who lived in Lansdowne and then went back and served in the Nuremberg trials as a lawyer prosecuting Nazi war criminals and actually purloined a pretty famous diary by Alfred Rosenberg, who was part of the very influential on Adolf Hitler, the Nazi regime. Who that diary was discovered within the last decade at his Lansdowne home, is currently in the U.S. Holocaust Museum. I don't know if you remember this, evidently they used the local police department to to get the diary. So it's just something advocating from the borough that we do comprehensive education, also an encouragement of different schools in our community to also do that comprehensive education. I'm a teacher in Philadelphia. This is something that we do every year. We actually have essay contests. We have tie-ins to the Mordecai Inovich essay contest and work with the local Jewish History Museum in Philadelphia for different programming. So I'm putting it up for the council's attention. And this is one of those time sensitive things where it's January 27th coming up to do advertisement and have people actually be able to do some of the work. I know that, I don't know if this is the year to do it, but maybe in the future have students within the area do some kind of research and written work to submit to the borough and publish on a page, do some kind of community engagement as well.
Thank you. You have any comments?
I certainly support this type of resolution, but I would be more comfortable with this resolution if we took out the third, fourth, and fifth whereas. I think that we are heading into a bit of a political piece, and I personally have learned my lesson about overstepping as a local borough council, and that's just my opinion. I'm certain other people might disagree. But recognizing the extraordinary courage of victims and survivors of the Holocaust, absolutely. I think that we have been doing a lot of work with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then therefore be it resolved, certainly encouraging the school districts to teach about the Holocaust. It happened. There's nothing that's, I believe in education. I just think that the third whereas mentioning the Biden-Harris administration, and I don't, just my reading of it, so.
If I may clarify what the strategy to counter anti-Semitism is. So this is a particular push by the Biden-Harris administration. So all of the executive agencies, and this is a bipartisan thing. It's not political. It's bipartisan, in which they're using all of the executive agencies and then all of the places that receive funding. So something from the Department of Justice, something from Department of Education. They're all the grant money that is coming through. There's components in which that grant money is tied to work towards countering anti-Semitism. So it's a particular movement of the Office of Civil Rights, for example, Department of HUD, for example. So as a CDBG recipient, that's something that when we're applying for that, we show that we're doing some kind of work towards that end. So,
All right, well then, so is this a copy of a resolution that is the exact same wording except for the Lansdowne references?
no, this is something that.
So you wrote this?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, is that language is from their initiatives on the federal level to do the work on the state and local level. So it's not just something that's being out there, it's actually showing some kind of significant action. It's like dealing with some kind of anti-racist initiatives, for example. This is an example of like doing anti-racist work, where it's, in this case, is doing work to like try to counter the different anti-Semitism. And I'd also offer the fourth resolution is pretty much tying into what we have committed in our organizing resolutions to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I think it's fitting into that work. And the fifth one's not political, that's historical detail.
If I could ask about, whereas, 3, you have 2 quotes in there. Is that directly from the strategy to counter
Correct.
anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Can you tell me where the second quote ends, please?
I'm sorry, did I move that up? Quotation mark. At violence. So there should be a quotation mark after the semicolon.
Discrimination and
And
violence.
violence, yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Then Councilmember Vogel, would now therefore being the liaison of the library board, is there any type of like particular information that they have? Do you know like where they can get the information from if they do decide to put it out? Or is there some type of strategy to encourage the school district, the library and others to spread awareness or things like that?
Yeah, I think with the library, one of the things it could do is a bookcase of different children's literature, young adult literature. I mean, I don't want to get into the program of the library, but like, I'm sure that they could do that, or have some kind of speaker come in about it. I know is when I taught middle school, I taught up in Northeast Philadelphia, where we often had actual survivors come to the school to speak, people who were impacted around this time. I mean, as I said, in different museums, I know the library has that great program where you can check out the memberships to the different museums. I'm sure that they could do something into that connection. And in the future, I would like if we could think about the themes and actually do something as a borough, the theme to encourage participation in the theme.
When we create resolutions such as this, do we reach out to the community subgroups to ask their input?
We can, yes, and we have before.
Did you?
And this particular one, no, because of the time sensitive nature.
Okay. Yes.
I'm in support of this resolution. I just would like us to be cautious and have pause. With the second to last paragraph, when it references the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, I know there was a previous meeting that we had where their definition of anti-Semitism may not have been something that was shared by all community members. So we need to take pause to realize that, or remove it, or I know it was mentioned many times in that other meeting. So we just need to make sure that if that's what we want in there, that was a high point of contention. That organization was mentioned many, many times in that meeting. That was highly contention.
Okay. Thank you.
So are you recommending that we take that out?
If any of you remember that meeting,
Yes.
that particular organization was mentioned, and I recommend that we keep this resolution, but perhaps remove that organization's name from this, perhaps.
I know when we had the previous resolution, we talked about getting community input, and engaging community on, resolutions. So was that part of the conversation? I feel like that was a part of the conversation that we talked with the last resolution. And I just feel like that didn't happen with this one. I don't know anybody else's opinion about that.
I just want to say, like, I understand that I think it's time sensitive because the date is coming up, but I want to make sure that whenever we do resolutions like this, that we are doing resolutions that represent our community, the people that live here. And so I just want to make sure that the verbiage, considering the last few volatile meetings that we've had, that we are being sensitive to the people that we represent, regardless of how good the intent is, because I don't want you to think that I don't understand the intent. But I also want to make sure that what we're putting forth is representative of this particular community, because that is who we are here to represent.
And then just real quick, I'm in a business where you have to sort of plan. And I know that it's January 27th, and then we talked about in terms of like, making sure that we're planning ahead of time for specific events and things, so that way it's not a rush. I think that we have to get away from the rushing and trying to, submit things and not going through the proper process to make sure that it happens in terms of in October, November, really having these conversations, yeah.
I just also want to add that there's never any requirement for us to put forth any resolutions. So although I understand that the date is coming, if we didn't know and we said nothing, there is no harm, no foul in doing that. And so.
I wanted, can I?
Hold on one second, I'm just gonna get there.
I think that what you're saying about planning, that there's so many dates. You know, we're looking at Lunar New Year, Holocaust Remembrance Day, that we know the dates. And I wonder if we could look at the calendar well ahead and target those, if we want, like pick out which resolutions, what things are important to us. And so that we're doing it, maybe we're voting on everything in January. Regardless, we're voting in January for the ones in November and December because we've really planned ahead.
But does it need to be resolutions?
No, that's what the mayor has said, that there are no.
I think,
And just real quick, I just want to make this the last comment, because we have, when I move on to the next item. Hold on. I said I'm gonna make it the last comment, but I'll let you get the last word. I just want to make sure that we're moving the agenda along.
Yeah, and I hear.
Well, hold on, I'm gonna let Molly go first.
Oh, okay.
as important as these sentiments are, I think we also need to remember that our primary focus here should be our community and what we have the power to affect. And it's not that I think this is not important in any way, shape, or form, but there are other things in the day-to-day management of the borough that perhaps should take more of our time and effort than necessarily having a resolution for every day that comes to pass.
Yeah, definitely. And also just, and I want to piggyback on what you were saying in terms of like really embracing and really healing and supporting, the community. I know with the previous resolution, it caused a lot of different emotions came out. And I know I was having, conversations. I don't know if you want me to having conversations with the mayor about having, forums and discussions with the community, facilitated by a professional. Because I think it's important to have those conversations. And because I really want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable here in Lansdowne, everybody feels supported here in Lansdowne, because I do. I want to make sure everyone feels the same way. Then you got a comment?
Yeah, I hear what folks are saying, and I think this is one of the aspects where after the previous conversations, there are many folks who don't feel supported in Lansdowne. And in fact, one of the issues that Biden's task force is trying to address is the actual rise in anti-Semitism that's been happening in the United States prior to anything that occurred in October. This was a strategy that's put together in May, encouraging local governments to do that active work in the community and try to do the work to ensure that things that have become sort of cliche and commonplace are now something that are being talked about in local communities even more. As I say, when I taught middle school, we actually had survivors speak. That's not the case anymore. I've been teaching for a long time. I don't want to give exact dates to take myself. But most of those folks who were their survivors are no longer there. In fact, many of their children are no longer there. We had individuals from Kinder Transport who were no longer there. And I just want to note it might be a buzzword for different individuals, but the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance was an organization that was founded by the United States and many other groups. The initial name of it was the Task Force for International Cooperation on Holocaust Education, Remembrance, and Research. That's the primary purpose of the organization, was to do educational materials to have this preservation of memory that was taking place. And I would say that as a community that it fits in with what we're trying to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I brought it to council initially, understanding the dates coming up to 27th. I mean, it's something that certainly folks could consider. We could vote on this at the next council meeting and take it up in the community relations committee or other committees and have more discussion about it if need be. I mean, I do think though that right now, given the look that Lansdowne has in Delaware County, that we need to do something active to show the outside world that we're working on some of the issues that we have in Lansdowne. And this is one of the ways of doing so. And it's one of the ways as well that identified by, again, all of the all of the different executive agencies filtering down with their grant money to the state agencies, filtering down to the local area are also addressing that need. I mean, that's a particular push. I don't know if you've seen it, because I've seen it, is that there's actual letters sent by the Department of Education to all the different school districts about this particular task force. So it is something that's in different state to local agencies.
Okay, so you want to submit it for a vote? Submit the motion?
I would make a motion for it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Just moving on to your, the next resolution, I believe that was from you as well regarding the Lunar New Year.
Yes, the Lunar New Year resolution, this is something that we did pass last year. We passed it, I believe, in December last year, because the Lunar New Year at that point was in January. This year, the Lunar Year coming up is February 10th, 2024. So this again gives lead time. We can make the motion tonight. We can discuss it tonight, make the motion at the next meeting. It can go to community relations for more vetting, more detail for the next meeting. I just wanted to propose it tonight to try to follow through the process that we're set for discussing things multiple meetings for ultimate transparency.
Thank you. Any?
Did you reach out to any subgroups in regards to this resolution?
No, this is a resolution of same language, different date from last year.
Okay. Any other?
To kind of get some clarification, Mr. Vice President, when it comes to reaching out to subgroups, you meaning, like, what do you mean? Organizations in Lansdowne or just people in the community?
People who celebrate Lunar.
We do have a temple in town
Okay.
on the corner of Nyack and Union.
Yeah, right on the corner.
Mhm.
Nyack and
Union.
that's Lansdowne.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next item, a resolution regarding Martin Luther King Day. That's also you.
Yes, similar idea. Martin Luther King Day is coming up January 15th. Last year, we did vote in December to the celebration Mr. Griffin put on. I believe that in committee, Mr. Curry, you and us and Councilmember James also worked on that to have some kind of event on Martin Luther King Day. I don't know that there's anything in the works this year for Lansdowne, and I think having some kind of resolution or a motion just to recognize the impact that Martin Luther King Jr. had, not just on the rural community, but also his impact on Delaware County. So some of the point of these resolutions is also educational community that Martin Luther King did spend his time in Chester in Delaware County, his formative years, and also traveling into West Philadelphia, going to school. So I think that's part of what we're trying to do is to just highlight not just the individuals, but also the impact of those individuals on Lansdowne and within the Lansdowne community.
Thank you.
Mr. President, just to piggyback, the reason why we did not have an event or anything like that in the works this year is last year, I've noticed that the community YMCA, the YMCA in Lansdowne, January 15th is going to host a breakfast at 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. They'll have a guest speaker, Honorable Judge Tammy Forbes. It's just a unity breakfast honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So there's nothing in community relations going on. However, there is something going on in Lansdowne at the community YMCA right off of Lansdowne and Garrett Road. It's again, January 15th, 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Community breakfast. Oh, no, sorry. This is community get YMCA is sponsored. I'm sorry. The location is 4700 Drexel Brook Drive. I'm sorry. 4700 Drexel Brook Drive in Drexel Hill. but the local YMCA in Lansdowne is sponsoring that event. Again, the address is 4700 Drexel Brook Drive, Drexel Hill, PA. It's a unity breakfast, honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
There isn't a great deal of time, but I wonder in that we were already discussing the need for volunteers for various committees and organizations if there, and the fact that MLK Day is associated with volunteers, and if there's some sort of synergy there we can take advantage of.
Well, I just, I think that this resolution lacks substance. There's no service day project, there's no incorporation of community members, and just, it's already a recognized federal holiday. So, if we are not having a service project, and you're promoting the why,
Correct.
I just don't see the purpose.
Yes.
So what you're saying is you object to having a resolution for a resolution's sake? So, yeah, so that's what I'm reading. So in your opinion,
I think we need to be much more intentional with our time. If we can bring the community together to do a service day project, out of unity, and this is what that resolution was about, then I would be all in. But just to do things for smoke and mirrors and just to say that we're doing it, that's
so
not
the
what I'm
same
into.
for
all
Lunar New
three.
Year?
Yes.
So you see the same objective?
For all three.
For all three?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Alright.
that's just my opinion.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, I kind of take offense to that comment about smoke and mirrors, that I don't think this is smoke and mirrors at all. I think this is a part of what we do as a government, and I would certainly entertain if you would like to add a resolution to create a Martin Luther King Day activity. If we want to add that to tie in to encourage, so if you want to edit therefore to encourage individuals to take part in the Lansdowne YMCA activity. And then I think that adds that meaning to it. I think that the whole point of collaboration in the council is that we bring ideas to each other and we try to improve on the ideas that are being offered. And I think that I'm going to take it in the spirit of improving the idea is that we do have some kind of substantive end to it. I believe that certainly the International Holocaust Remembrance Day resolution does have substance to it, but it is encouraging work within our local Lansdowne entities to do some kind of programming and activity for it. I think that's part of what, I mean, we as a council and as a community have been very proactive in investing in the community activities to have money going into our library, to have a great library program, to have arts and culture that's constructed. And I think that's part of what we also have requested within our contract with Lansdowne Economic Development Corporation and the Arts and Cultural Council is to do this kind of DEI work and educational material and invest our money that way. If that's not what it's for, I think the free market should just reign in those areas then. And I mean, here we have, I think, the opportunities to start to integrate all of that work together.
Yes.
I'd like to give the public time to sit with these and everything that we've said and table and vote on these next time. I realize that in some cases that won't leave a lot of time before the actual holidays, but I think it's important to gather some more information, perhaps take a look at these again and tie them to more actions or
Right.
actionable items. And bring them up again next meeting.
Okay.
You wait to get that motion, so.
All right, any other comments? Okay. So we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda is public comment. A motion to move into Oh, we got to suspend okay. So we got to suspend Robert rules of order. Can I get a motion to move into?
To suspend Robert's rules of order. You need a motion.
Oh, I got a motion to suspend it. Okay.
Robert's rules of order.
Okay, got you. Got you.
I'm helping.
Can I get a motion to,
So moved.
yeah, can I second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right. So the move is to suspend Robert's rules, was approved. Can I get a motion to move into public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Second, the motion was moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Nice, so the motion was approved. We can move into public comment. We want to start in the audience first. Is it? I was about to say that. So if you can, I'm gonna start in the audience. I'm also gonna move online. If you could just give, your name, and your place of residence before you start speaking. Thank you. Yes.
I'm Heather, I'm on Madison Road, Heather Giardinelli Cronin on Madison Road. I'm gonna try to organize myself here for a second. I don't, maybe resolutions, maybe there's a way for the borough to acknowledge some of these events that don't involve a resolution, right? Like because National Holocaust Day is day, right? And Pauline and Morris Honovitz came to this country. And the rest of them are dead. And my entire family, my husband's entire family is gone. And they're the only two that are left. And what I really, really don't want to happen is to have another discussion in this room about whether or not that was justified or whether or not what defines that, right? They deserve to have that recognized respectfully. Without any argument or discussion, just recognize it and move on, please. And let's not do that. Whether you have a resolution or not, just don't, please. Because I know that I have been heard by this council. Because many of you have reached out to me and expressed your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns. Many of my community has reached out to me and expressed thoughts, concerns, and feelings because we've had some differing opinions about this particular issue. But the truth is that my husband has been deeply affected. There are big anti-Semitic comments in this community by residents of Lansdowne directed at my husband at the Christmas parade. He had an incident, right? We had to take down a sign on our front porch because we were afraid what would happen. We never felt any anxiety living on the main line. But this is what we feel here. I don't feel it directed from you. I don't feel it directed from anybody here, but it's the unknown, I guess, that we feel. My mother wanted me to quit every public activity I was involved in. My children wanted me to reevaluate where we moved to. So these were the conversations I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas having. So let's not do it again. Acknowledge the day and get to work on other things, right? Respectfully, Ben, you and I have had conversations about this. I can't feel that hurt again. So I'm asking you to please not do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone online that would like to comment?
Just if you're online, if you could please raise your hand so that our facilitator can unmute you.
Don't have anyone? Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Yes.
Thanks, Jennifer, Windermere Avenue. I wasn't gonna speak, but I'm Jewish. And when people go write resolutions without consulting with any Jewish people, it's not okay. I appreciate someone having a voice for us, I guess. But if I'm not at the table or someone, you know, Mr. Griffin said representation matters. It does. And you can't write resolutions that are supportive of people of color, if no people of color at the table. Like, you gotta be inclusive. And the Holocaust was a really bad thing. I don't think, I too lost all my family in Hungary. You know, my grandmother came and the rest were done. But this is Lansdowne Borough. And we have Lansdowne Borough things to worry about. And writing resolutions without representation is not the answer. Not today, not in a year, not in 5 years. We gotta do better. I feel safe here until we start doing stuff like this. And then I completely don't feel safe. Because other people are putting words in my mouth. You know, to Ms. Hartsoff's point about the International Holocaust, whatever that name of that group is. That's not usually a group that a lot of Jewish people stand. So I just think we gotta be really careful when we talk about things that we need other support in from other folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have anyone online? Still online? Do we have anyone in person that would like to speak? Yes.
Thank you, Council President Curry, Bill Horton, Linden Ave. First of all, with the resolution of the Holocaust, I do know one of the things that were reiterated was quoting the President Biden's administration, and I do know President Biden just signed an executive order releasing funds to Israel without the approval of council. So with that reflection, I think that quotation at the least should not be in there, because now you're taking sides with an executive order from that administration to support Israel. So it seems conflicting. Somebody reads that and says, hey, oh, they just gave money to Israel, or Biden just did it on his, at a whim. So I think maybe that should be taken down, if not tabled everything. But I'd also like to say thank you for the openness of everybody to be more open and you know, willing to take in more volunteers, because that was not the case just recently. I had a hard time volunteering for Parks and Rec, feeling choked, not only feeling, but quitting because of the situation. Quitting the Democratic Committee because of the situation, feeling pressured and bullied and accosted in this room and other committees. So I think you guys are doing great. And although it's not something easy to change, but you know, keep it up, because we do need more volunteers. It's hard to be the sole couple volunteers that do everything. Like the mayor yesterday organizing to get coffee and cookies there, you know, and Jessica helping, you know, get stuff that was needed together. This is, you know, I don't think there was any, I don't know, but I don't think there's any borough funds used yesterday. But this is the kind of volunteers that we need, where people feel proud to support the borough and proud to be a volunteer and not taken advantage of, to be frank. And maybe something you guys might consider later when you're discussing these things, maybe having a time there for council people, or you know, 2 rebuttals, you know, response and rebuttal, maybe 1 more rebuttal, and then call it a day, because God, this meeting's going long, and I thought this was a very, very short agenda. So anyway, sorry, I just feel kind of upset because I did have to quit 2 things and fight my way to get on to zoning board. Fight for months. And you know, I'm happy that I made it with the support of some of these people in this room. And willing to persevere with that. So again, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to respond?
You want to respond?
No, you know, I'm sorry that you felt like you were choked and, one of the things that is important to me is that you come back and have a different experience. And, we want to definitely engage everyone to participate and empower them, give them a voice. So I'm sorry you experienced that. And I do hope you come back.
I agree. I mean, I think, definitely, your dedication, even coming to the meetings, I think will be a great asset to the community. So, sorry that you had to experience that. But, moving forward, we want to be open and supporting, council, and, for the community. So thank you for your words.
You've no hands up online, so you're good.
Okay, yes.
Katie Bechtold, Mansfield Road. I
Okay.
wanted to say, thank you for your time and for serving. It's been a while since I've been regularly at council meetings, so I appreciate it. One of the reasons I wanted to come tonight is I, understood that the borough manager was let go, and that, was concerning to me because I know you can never have full transparency when it's issues of business, but I don't know if people in the public would see something like that coming. That seems pretty extreme. And also knowing that that happened, I'm happy to hear that you consider it an interim. That's a pretty big role. And I don't see any postings. I don't see any kind of job description or expectations. So I would just be curious. I mean, that's a major role of a paid role. So I'm just curious as to what that looks like. That's a pretty major shift in one day. So that's.
Absolutely, and can't go too far into the personnel issue. But we currently don't have a job description for the borough manager. That was done by council, so that's another concern as well. And so, the interim is in place, is being put in place as we look, create job descriptions, create a process to hire, a new borough manager that fits the qualifications that we need, for the borough in terms of, being open and supportive to the community, being receptive to the community, all those things, all those qualities that, collectively we talked about that we're looking for the borough manager. I don't know if anyone else want to add.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, I understand that you can't, of course, it's not all transparency.
Yeah.
As the fact that there's no job description, does this new person stepping in who's giving her time as well have a framework or set and written expectations?
Yeah, she does have written expectations and to-do list, but that's the concern as well. And that's a part of what we're going to be working with in terms of creating a job description, creating a holistic approach to the expectations of the job. Because right now it's real narrow, and we need to open it up a little bit to make it more broad and more sort of like a holistic to the whole job. Right now it's more of a sort of like a narrow sort of perspective on the expectations. And obviously with this job, it's a lot, and you have to sort of be evaluated on all those aspects and not just, a small, subset of things that, you may do well.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Dana Robinson from the Knoll. Just a couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
Could you repeat the name of the interim borough manager?
I'm gonna mess this up.
Ellen Lesgart.
And my second question is, for council member Griffin's committee, has the name been changed to community development or is it?
Yes.
Yes, so there's been a few changes to some of the committees. My committee in particular is the Community Development and Recreational Committee. The descriptions have changed, added some things, taken some things away. I can go into more detail now or later about the new.
That's the question.
Okay, so the new descriptions. Fine, descriptions.
But while you look for that, recreation was added to community,
Yes.
yeah, recreation was added, but he can.
Yes, and so the framework is still there when it comes to community engagement. I guess we're honing in on engaging organizations in Lansdowne. More so than anything. I'm sorry.
No, in the recreation.
In the recreation, yes. So we were prior to this being sworn in, like I said, the recreational side. I've been doing some work when it comes to the Lansdowne Boys and Girls Club. So just to give some privy information, they are trying to revamp that. And I can't say much because I'm not on board. I don't have all the information, but that was the discussion prior to the new year, 2023, going into 2024. They've been trying to do some work on their end to try to re-engage and revamp that. So being chair of community relations, I can't wait to see that how recreation can be involved with the borough, the community, and some of the young people, older people, things of that nature. A lot of engagement.
I'd just like to add that what you said at the beginning of the Borough Council meeting
Yes,
about your work with young people
yes.
was really inspiring, and I hope you get all the support you need to play the role that you want to play. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, I've only been for 5 years. And I have 2 young boys, I have a wife. And so having that experience in that short period of time, that's kind of why I'm passionate. And thank you again. I want to really extend my thank you, Councilmember Connors, because it means a lot. Thank you. And Chief. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I just wanted to,
Your name and place of residence.
Sarah Van Dyke, Madison Road. I just wanted to echo some concerns about the borough manager position. From a layman community member who really gets pieces of information, I'm not able to attend all the meetings. I have things in my head like, he just got a bonus. That was like the big talk of the town, getting a bonus. Usually you get a bonus if you do a really good job, or maybe it was a severance bonus, I'm not sure, but these things I think could be confusing to the community. They're certainly confusing to me. It's confusing to me to hear Mr. Hover on the meeting last night, be confused and not really understand what the meeting was about. I think that all members should know what's going on. It makes me feel like there's divisiveness that is becoming a part of our table, and that feels really, that's when I start to lose faith, and I don't want to, because this is my home and I don't plan to leave. So I would just urge you to mend it or not. That shouldn't have happened, in my opinion. And I guess, I don't really know all of the goings on of Mr. Totoro. I do know that this has been a huge discussion all over Facebook, good, bad, and ugly, but it is a huge responsibility. I will trust that your urge to dismiss him is with very good reason and with very high expectation of the person that will replace him. I know he was in this position for 16, 17 years, for better or for worse. I don't know those details. But I would say if we're doing that in this transition on the second day of a new council, I would say we really ought to have a big plan for a next big person, would be my encouragement to the council. And finally, I would just say, transparency, again, this goes with like confidence in your community, and I think our entire community could do a little better to sort of take a breath and have confidence in each other, that we all want the right thing, and confidence in the borough. But it sounds like this meeting had been discussed, this executive meeting had been discussed as far back as Friday. Mr. Homer mentioned that at the beginning of this, that he reached out via email to try to get more information. And that information did not get back to him or was not given to him. So if this was something that has been stirring since at least Friday, potentially with members, potentially, I don't know, with or without old members or new members who are about to be sworn in. There's a lot there to sort of wonder why we weren't given that information publicly. On the agenda, borough manager position to be discussed. You would have had a packed house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, Mr. Scott to respond to that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to respond. I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. I appreciate your comments. Thank you for coming tonight. And I hope that you, based off of our conversations and how we're deliberating, that we don't go into making decisions lightly. I hope that you sort of understand that based off of how we're moving and how we're operating. Also, I want to say that I've been on council for about 2 years. And you can go back and look at agenda items. When it says executive session, it says personnel issue. It never says anyone's name. It never, and this is going back, I mean, you can look on the borough's website. So that's why it was kind of confusing because the former president, these were his agendas. So that had executive session personnel. Didn't have anything else, and we didn't find out until we got to the meeting, to the executive session. So that's why, and to be honest, I know it may feel like it's divisive in terms of the council, but I think that, it's a lot of freedom up here in terms of expressing points of views and how we feel about things.
Sure.
No one is directing anyone to feel a certain way, to act a certain way. We all were duly elected. We all have our point. We all have our voice. We all have our opinion. And so when we vote, that's what it will be. It won't be whether I want something or the vice president wants something or anyone on this council wants something. It's about voting for what we believe is best for Lansdowne borough. And so I just wanted to provide that information, a bit of insight to you.
Then I was just really gonna say the same thing you said, but you said it better. And me being new on council, and working with Mr. Hover in the past, one of the things that he cites all the time is the Sunshine Act. And the matter in which was asked what was going to happen in the executive session was on email. And you can't discuss things like that in the email. And so, but Mr. Hover, I believe, knows that. And Mr. Scott said that we were handling things in the proper way.
If I can just say one more thing, I know of the Sunshine Act. All you guys have studied it far more than I have. I guess I don't really know when that vote would come, vote for a new person, vote that Mr. Totoro is removed. Is that tonight? Is that another night? So I guess my shouting point is if that were to be a vote tonight, that would make me feel yucky that we hadn't done the community a service.
Yes.
If it's next week or the next week, then that makes plenty of sense. So I hear exactly what you mean. I did read the blurb that said executive sessions, don't really have to delineate details and they're not open to the public, all that stuff. But if there's a vote to be had, I would expect that the community would at least be heard on that specific name, topic, paid position before the vote. And I don't know, maybe that is already the case, maybe it's not. I don't know what the plan is moving forward for that vote.
Well, isn't that what
We talked about it earlier this meeting.
We talked about it earlier, and it will be a vote.
Item 3 on your agenda.
Yeah, and it will be a vote. It will be a motion put up to not renew this contract this evening. So I just want to make sure that's
So
clear.
that I would not consider that sufficient.
Mhm.
And again, I don't think, it's not even that I disagree. I'm just speaking as a community member that feels like, whoa, how's stuff happen?
Mhm.
That's not adequate information for a community, because there's community members that weren't able to sign in because they read the agenda and they said, oh, maybe that doesn't apply to me. I'm gonna take care of my kids taking the basketball instead, right? So that addition of a specific thing, personnel could be like, I don't know, a sanitation worker needs to be replaced. This is a huge position.
But it's also a personnel issue. So I understand what you're saying, but it's definitely a personnel issue that you can't go into too much specifics, but I understand your concern. I definitely do, but.
I don't know you. My name is Jane Young. I was mayor here for 3 terms, 12 years before, and then served on zoning hearing board for 8 years, and then came back on to council. In all those years, what I've learned is the council is your representatives. You charge us with running the borough as best way that we can. And you have to have some confidence that when you voted us in, that we would handle things the best way and identify problems and try to move forward in finding solutions to them. And I really believe that what this council is going to vote on today will be a very good thing for this. I think it will end up being a very good thing for this borough. And because of all my years, I have, yes, Mr. Totaro gave 16 years. He would had the job for 16 years. There have been things that have come up over the years, good and bad. I mean, that's the nature of having a job for any length of time. In some areas, every time there's a new council, a Democratic council gets rid of the Republicans, the Republican council gets rid of the Republicans. So it can often be, there's some turmoil and there's some turnover. But I have a lot of confidence that this council has done their due diligence and is making a good decision.
In my
So-
final, if I may.
Yeah.
You don't know me either. I've been somebody who said we need to get all the facts, all the truth, and have confidence in the people that we elected. So I do hope that that's not what I'm conveying, that there's not a lack of confidence, but this is a community that always likes to come and share public comment. So it just seems a little odd that this particular one wouldn't have been put out specifically to the community why not this one? It's
embarrassing for him.
It's a personnel, it's a personnel issue. I mean,
Like any other.
yeah, it's a person that's like someone at your job, and I don't want to get personal, but it's somebody at your job talking about, what you're doing out in public. It's just not, it just can't, it's not appropriate for what
But
what we're trying
not
to.
asking for details, just saying, Carol offered a really wonderful sentiment about, her experiences with him. I don't have anything like that to offer. I don't know
Yeah.
at all. So my point is, hearing those things, the impact or whatever, is not necessarily calling him out for any kind of firing. It's almost more like, thank you for your service, or this is what, we thought of him. It just gives the community a focus on the topic.
Understood. We have any other public comments? I'll get to you in a second. Anyone else that want to comment that haven't spoken? Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine Curia. I'm at 19 Mansfield Road.
Mhm.
I want to just say that we're here expressing our opinions, and I don't feel like we're being heard. And that's all I'll say. I mean, we're expressing our opinion, saying you made the decision. It sounds like you made a decision already. I hear a resume was sent out 30 minutes before this meeting for everyone to vote on the interim. It just doesn't sound like you're hearing our concerns. It doesn't sound like you want to include us with resolutions and with days, but you don't want to include us with our own borough manager. So if you could just table this discussion and get everyone's opinions, not the same day as the meeting, for crying out loud, that would be really helpful. And that would establish trust. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
The thing I wanted to say as somebody who As somebody who grew up here and moved back with my family, we've been living here 15 years as an adult with my now son, because I love this borough. And I love being a part of it. I've been a part of it in a lot of ways, elected official for elections, general elections. I love serving this borough. I do want to say something in response to what Ms. Young said about the fact that we do elect people and we do want to show confidence. I also want to state that I think it's very important, and which is why we have these open meetings, because you want to continue to make sure that the people that you elected are doing the things that you're hoping to do. That's true of any government. So I do want to make it clear that when we come, it's out of love for the community, not trying to be divisive. This is because I want this community to thrive. I've been waiting for the theater for 20 years. I mean, like, I want this. I will do any work I can to support this community. And I don't want to be silenced. So when I say I'm here to listen and to give feedback for a place that I love, it's not because I don't believe in my council. It's because it's my job as somebody who lives here and loves this town to continue to check, so there are checks and balances. Sometimes we can get in our own echo chamber, and when you're on council, that can happen. I used to be on the Democratic committee. I know what it's like to be in these kind of meetings. And you can be in an echo chamber when you're really down in the weeds. But I think it's important to understand where a lot of people are coming from. That's all I'm gonna say. So I think it's important to remember that, to step back a little bit.
I hear you, I understand, but I will not give you blow by blow all the reasons that I don't believe, but that's not appropriate. So I am just saying that I think you have to have faith, some faith that the conversations
And
happen.
like I said to Mr. Curry.
Yeah.
I would never ask for that because I'm an administrator and I
Yeah.
understand that there are.
Right, of course, yes.
So I just asked for you to not quiet us by saying you elected us, period.
No, I don't think I said that. And I love this community. I've been here since 1983. I love this community. I would never do anything that I thought would harm it. That's why I sit in this chair.
All right, thank you for your comments. Do we have a comment online?
I saw a hand raised, but it went down unless Maureen Reese, did you want to speak?
Yep, that was me. Hi, I'm Maureen Reese. I'm on Drexel Ave.
Oh,
my
hold
comment-
1 second.
Sure.
Go ahead. That was coming.
I'm hearing you echoing now.
I know.
All right, it sounds like that's better. Okay. So I'm Maureen Reese. I'm on Drexel Ave. My comment is about the resolutions and kind of the role of resolutions. And I'm wondering if maybe it's time, given that there's some disagreement among council and some really important points raised by the community about the way the resolutions are being put out and kind of what are they, what's the purpose, I suppose. I wonder if maybe it's time for this new council to maybe take an intentional pause from putting out these resolutions and maybe task one of the committees with coming up with some like guidance or guardrails around like what is the purpose of the resolution, like here are some things that should be included, such as like an action, etc. And then kind of bring it back to council to vote on, because it just seems like, just given what's been going on recently and the disagreements around the roles of these types of resolutions, that it could be a good time to kind of think about what we're doing as a community with those, and also give some space for this new council to really tackle some of the big issues in the community as well. Thank you. That's all I have.
I am not hearing anything. Am I given permission to speak? I can't hear anyone talking right now. Looks like yes. So Josh Moorhead, Price Avenue. Thanks so much for the council tonight, listening to both sides of the issues. I can appreciate that. To address some of the neighbors' comments about not being heard. I know what that feels like. I really do. I take it as a welcome refreshment that the Borough Council President and the council have suspended Robert's rules and are not using timers to cut us off when we're trying to have a conversation or get an answer to a question. I also appreciate that council is answering questions directly and, eagerly. I don't find it very unusual to respond with an opinion that might differ, but I would like to point out to some, I can't recall the person's name that mentioned it, that they don't feel heard. This is gonna be an improvement, it feels like, just based on this meeting last night and tonight. I appreciate council responding to us for the first time in a while. We were told, thank you for your comments, and not responded to. Our questions were not responded to in public comment. So yes, thank you for that. And I would like to assure the neighbors that raised concerns that it seems like we're going to get some actual conversations and answers now. Thank you.
I come to meetings every 2 weeks and I don't know if that role is gonna be replaced or, or it's just been eliminated completely. So I do appreciate this. Seems like council is listening and I do support what you guys decide.
Thank
This new, whatever decision you make with the borough manager.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments in the room? Yes.
Leo Nelson on Maxfield Road. Just curious if the Borough Council has a timeline for the permanent replacement, if you will, of the borough manager.
So, we're definitely gonna have an ad hoc committee to make sure that we have communities, all stakeholders involved. We will have an interim, but the goal is to make sure that it's all stakeholders involved and making sure that we have job descriptions, we have what the expectations are of the new borough manager. And so it's gonna be a process for that. And, we will be, begin that process really soon. No, it's no time frame. But the plan is to try to start working on it as soon as possible.
So in the interim, if there is an escalation involving a borough issue, does that go to Ellen?
Yeah, we'll go to the interim borough manager, yes. Absolutely.
And are you at liberty to share what's on that short to-do list? Because that seems impactful off the borough.
Yeah. Are we able to mention like what was short term?
Well, the interim borough manager is gonna be doing all the duties of the job.
Yeah.
It's going to be the full range of management duties that are required to manage the borough. Which is too numerous to mention. It's a long list.
And respectfully, Solicitor Scott. President Carty made reference to a short to, so just more out of curiosity.
So I was saying more in terms of, I was saying, I said a short list for what part? I'm sorry.
For the to-do list for the interim borough manager.
Okay, yeah, so the interim manager will take on the same responsibilities that the former manager had, all the duties. I know council member Hoover talked about the NV5 that we're working on. We have some grants that they're gonna be working on as well. We're aware of what's needs to take place in the near future. Yeah, can't speak on it now, but we are aware of what needs to take place and a transition has occurred or will occur.
I know that you said, I believe you said that this is.
Well, hold on, I gotta make sure that he's done, and I'm actually yeah, so I know you spoke twice, and I'm probably gonna stop it right there in terms of responses. But in terms of your answer, yeah, we will have a transition plan for the new person. For the interim person. All right, any other comments from anyone that hasn't spoken? Thank you. Anyone in that?
No.
Okay. All right. So can I get a motion to move back into the agenda items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? So the motion has been approved. We're moving into the motions on the agenda. First up is Ms. Connors.
Motion to not renew contract with Borough Manager Craig Totaro.
Second.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. I want to, before we go into discussion on this, I just want to make sure I make a comment regarding this. I want to say that I want to definitely thank Mr. Totaro for 16 years of service to the Lansdowne Borough and all that he's accomplished. He's accomplished some amazing things. He's definitely going to have a lasting impact, and I wish him the best in all of his future endeavors. Any discussion items, any discussion on the motion that was just presented?
I just ask it if be kind of amended or clarified to just state that his last day of employment is today, just so we have a clear
Okay.
beginning and end for a severance purpose calculation. So,
Also, Mr. President, if I can make an amendment to the health benefits.
we're gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
We're
Oh,
gonna,
we're just making- we're just
that'll
making-
be subsequent,
Mhm.
yeah.
Any discussion on this item? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All against?
Nay.
All right, so it look like we're a little split on that, so
Do you want a roll
I'm
call?
gonna do a roll call on that. So, Ms. Marshall,
Nay.
Ned, Ms. Connors,
Aye.
Ms. Young,
Aye.
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 Okay. Nay.
All right, so look like we have 4 aye, 3 nay. So that motion has been approved. Next item. Ms.
Motion
Connors.
to hire interim borough manager Ellen Lustgarten pending salary negotiations.
Second.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, I object to this motion. There should have been a motion to appoint borough manager listed on the agenda. There is not. I believe this motion is in violation of the Sunshine Act. And if this council moves forward, I believe it should be willful intent to violate the Sunshine Act.
We violate the Sunshine Act?
I understand your argument. It is. It's a legitimate argument, but the agenda lists that there's going to be personnel items that will be voted on after an executive session discussion. I continue to believe it's not appropriate to list names until there's been an executive session where people, particularly in the case of a termination. Until you've had that meeting, decided whether you're going to move forward with it. There is a requirement under the borough code to reorganize the first meeting of the year, which was yesterday, and this is in essence kind of a carryover of that. I think it's appropriate to move forward because somebody needs to be in charge. To the extent there is any vulnerability to this position, I suggest it could be ratified in 2 weeks at the next meeting.
What hired and then ratified?
What's that?
I don't know what that
Yeah,
means.
so
If there is a Sunshine Act violation, which I'm not saying there is, but even if there were, the way you cure it is by voting on it in a public meeting, with, addressing any potential vulnerability.
So not taking that action tonight?
I think you should take the action tonight. I think you can take the action.
okay. Any other discussion on this item?
So one other thing I'm gonna ask, there was a reference to not having negotiated salary. I would ask that after this meeting, we have an executive session to kind of set some parameters that can be discussed with Ms. Lustgarten. The ordinance on borough managers requires that an interim be subject to an employment agreement. So the goal would be to come back in 2 weeks with that employment agreement for council to consider that. So I'll ask for an executive session afterward to discuss terms of it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Those against?
Nay.
So like we had, I'm just do a roll call just to be on the safe side. Ms. Marshall?
Aye.
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 Nay.
All right, so look, we have 6 aye and 1 nay, so that motion has been approved. Next item.
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Need a second.
Oh, okay, second.
So the motion has been approved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The motion has been approved. Next item.
Motion to approve bills for the period.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The motion has been, approved. The next item.
Motion to table resolutions 6 through 8 until the next, meeting with potential, amendments.
Do we have a second? Oh,
Second.
okay.
There's no need to table if there's not a motion on the table. So you normally don't table unless somebody's made a motion.
Okay.
So if somebody makes a motion, you would then raise that.
Thank you.
But also wanted to, sorry, before you did that, I wanted to make a motion to, approve resolution 2024-05 regarding bank signatures.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I want to make sure I mention that as well.
Second.
All right, so the motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that item? All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
So the motion has been approved, 6-1. Next item, I believe it's your resolutions.
Yes, I move to approve resolution resolution regarding Holocaust Remembrance Day, that'd be 2024-06.
You said 2024-06?
I believe that's marked as 07 in my packet.
Yes, it is, so with that and then
What, the
06.
06. Okay. So is it, so is it 07 or is it 06?
With the amendment for 06. Amending the 07 to 06.
So it's.
I'm amending the number, it was out of order.
Okay, so it should be 6. You're
Yes.
saying, okay, gotcha. Okay. Do we have a second?
I would like to motion to table this until the next meeting.
Second.
If it doesn't get a second, it
Then it's
doesn't.
not.
Yeah, that's out.
That's what it's,
So do we have a second? All right, so we don't have a second, so that motion is not approved.
So just so I'm clear, because I'm learning, so that means when you don't get a second, that resolution just dies.
The
Yeah,
motion dies.
yeah.
You can
Oh,
bring it up
yeah,
again,
you can bring it up
if
again.
you make changes or amendments,
I
but for this
apologize.
meeting, the motion is dead.
All right, next, Mr. Hobart.
I move to pass a resolution regarding the Lunar New Year, 2024-0, that would be -07.
Okay, 07. Do we have a second? All right, I don't hear a second, so that motion is not approved. Next item, Mr. Hobart.
I move a resolution regarding Martin Luther King Day, that would be 2024-0.
All right, do we have a second?
second.
Okay, we have a second, so the motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on this item?
I would like to make a motion to table until the next meeting.
Second.
All right, so the motion to table has been moved and seconded.
First you vote on the table.
Yeah, you got roll the table. All right, so yeah,
We can table, I would like to bring this to my committee.
absolutely.
So just to get the timeline down, it does give us enough time for to get to reach committee to come back if so.
All right, so all in favor of the table?
Aye.
Against?
They,
Nay? Okay, so
Okay, I'm so confused, because he seconded, but why did he second it, but then once,
No, he seconds
I
the
didn't
original
second.
motion.
The original motion was
Yes.
seconded, and then somebody else seconded tabled.
table.
So now we're taking a
Yeah.
vote on the
on
table.
the table.
okay, so now he wants to
Rick
table.
Will just asked if he could bring it
He
back to
pushed it,
community
yeah.
relations so that he can revise and talk about it. with the community.
Okay.
And people think it's easy up here.
And just to add on,
I'm sorry.
we have to vote on the table before we can vote on the main motion.
So no, it was a motion and then somebody and added a table, so you gotta vote on that.
Correct.
The motion gets a second.
Yep.
Then you have a table which gets a second. You vote on the table
Okay.
first.
So did we vote on, I'm sorry. Should we vote
I think you voted on it, yes.
Okay.
I think it was the- I think it was
The
the
vote to
6 to
table
1.
and the table 6-1.
Oh, 6-1, also, okay, all right, so we're gonna table that motion. Yeah, I believe that was it.
No, we got, I have a motion to, oh, no. Okay, so I was.
That was what you
I was supposed to
had-
be-
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, So that actually concludes our agenda. That concludes our agenda items. We're gonna be moving into executive session. We don't have any voting item on the, so we're gonna adjourn the meeting.
If you could, for the record, please state what the executive session is concerning.
The term for employment of the interim.
No.
So that's what we'll be discussing.
Yeah, so we'll be discussing that, the interim. Yeah. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I need it.
Move-
Cheers. Thanks for coming, folks. Just, you would say the motion. Jess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even.
Meeting adjourned.
I thought I had read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.